Christmas Day!
Welcome to Slash City. I am your host, Slasher Sam, and here we go. 'Tis the season for holiday-themed slashers. Now, rather than me making episode after episode of the films I personally enjoy, I thought we'd try something a little different tonight. I'm breaking out something I'm calling the Rankifier, and we're going to talk through and rank 11 different slasher films fit for the holiday season. Some are good, some are trash, but it's important I give you the guide so that we're not wasting your time when it comes to picking out the right film to watch. Now, in preparation for this episode, I have to say I watched some of these for the first time and was pleasantly surprised, while another kind of just pissed me off. So with that, let's get started. Let's kick things off with Terrifier 3, a film I recently saw in theaters. Now, Terrifier is what I'm calling the diehard of Christmas slashers. Is it really a holiday slasher, or do we just have some festive set design while art terrorizes Sienna? Either way, for those of you that like art and what he's brought to the table with the Terrifier series, this installment is a blast. The kills are incredibly graphic, and art, well, is just being peak art. The scene where he meets Santa is by far my personal favorite. My only gripe with this series as a whole is the introduction of mysticism into 2 and 3. If we cut down on that and kind of just made isolated art as a deranged psychopath, we would have something I believe of epic proportions. Regardless, Terrifier 3 is A tier to me and will become a regular in my holiday slasher lineup. Now next up is 1997's Jack Frost. Now growing up, the thing I remember most about this film was the holographic VHS cover. Every time I roamed the video store, this movie in particular caught my eye. And for you younger viewers at home, a video store is a physical location we used to go to borrow or rent movies. The VHS cover is just about the highlight of this film as a whole, though. The premise of a serial killer being turned into a snowman is certainly fun, but dare I say, they needed to go bigger. It honestly, it feels tame at times. If you're going cheesy and over the top, you've got to go all in. I can take the bad acting, but I'm just going to need bigger, better kills. There's also not a lot of rewatchability when it comes to Jack Frost, and we have far better films on our list today. So Jack Frost is a C-tier movie when it comes to holiday slashers for me. And it's just not Christmas without a Bob Clark classic. Clark not only gave us the holiday staple A Christmas Story with Ralphie and his Red Ryder, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, he delivered us 1974's Black Christmas. Now, it's hard to call Black Christmas a slasher simply because the term didn't exist with the release of the film. It's technically what we call a slasher influencer. But for an old head like me, it delivers absolutely everything you want in the subgenre. It's an incredible whodunit with suspense that's through the roof. Black Christmas is that type of horror that will have you check in the closet before you go to bed at night. It works under that show don't tell premise and hits it to a T. And apparently, the original script called for the deaths to be far more graphic. Clark, however, felt it would be more effective if the murders were toned down and kept subtle on the screen. Look, I love gore, but I also love letting the audience's imagination fill in the gaps. In this particular instance, I think Clark nailed it. Now, if you're watching this video and you haven't seen Black Christmas, what are you even doing? Black Christmas is 100% S tier and one of the greatest films of all time in its respective category. Its 2006 remake by the same name removes all mystery of our killer. We now get an elaborate backstory which some people tend to enjoy. Look, if someone breaks into your house, they don't pause to tell you who they are and why they're there. For me, a killer with zero backstory is far more terrifying. Admittedly, I despised this movie when it first came out. However, after another watch, I will say it's certainly not as bad as I initially believed. Our cast does do a solid job rehashing the story, and there are good kills throughout. This one actually may appeal a bit more to a younger audience as it doesn't feel as dated, but again, I really don't need to see Billy as a child to feel connected with the film. I put the Black Christmas remake in B tier, and it does have some potential for a rewatch. If you prefer more modern slashers, I would include this in your yearly rotation. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Okay, so Black Christmas 2019. Let's pause here and have a quick discussion. Everybody kind of moving a little. Gather around right up here up front. Don't be shy. Okay, so Movies are a form of art, and everybody has a story to tell, and everybody has a right to tell their story. Black Christmas 2019 is not a slasher. In fact, it probably belongs in the Skulls franchise. What bothers me the most about this film is the fact that it's flying under the guise of the Black Christmas name simply for marketability. This is gross, it's trash, and we're going to put it right down here in our trash bin in F tier. We're done here. All right, everybody back to your seats. Okay, let's get back on track now with 1984's Silent Night, Deadly Night. This one tells the story of young Billy, who saw his parents murdered by a man in a Santa suit. All grown up now, Billy snaps on Christmas and himself goes on a killing spree of epic proportions. Now, as a Christmas themed slasher, the tone of this one is spot on. Billy punishes the naughty, and we are riding shotgun in his sleigh of madness. I would say our only drawback to this one is there's no final girl or really anybody worth rooting for. Unless, of course, you're rooting for Billy to up his body count. Silent Night, Deadly Night is a B tier Christmas slasher and another that should sit firmly in your holiday rotation. Now, its sequel, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, does little to keep up with its predecessor. Now, this time, we're following along with Billy's younger brother Ricky, but the first half of this film is basically just a retelling of the original. By the time young Ricky hits the streets for his own rampage, we have little to no festive fun outside of Ricky taking out some naughty trash. Yes, I get it, it's an iconic scene and it also has a great over the top death, but Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2 is a rough sitting. This movie falls down into D tier, and I'd highly recommend catching those iconic clips via YouTube. Save yourself the 90 minutes. Now, in a loose installment into the same series, we get 2012's Silent Night. Now, while we get a solid cast in Malcolm McDowell, Jamie King, and Donald Logue, this one was lacking something I just couldn't quite put my finger on. I think I was just having a hard time connecting with the characters. It's not until the final scene that you find out the killer's motivation, but by then I was just kind of over this whole thing. Now, it certainly had potential throughout. There were certainly good kills, including a wood chipper and a flamethrower, but everything in between was just a bit lackluster. Now, if you haven't seen it, you may want to check it out, but this is a film where one watch it's plenty. I'm putting Silent Night comfortably in C tier since we do see others thrive where this one misses. Now, one of those films is 2022's Christmas Bloody Christmas. Now, I saw this one for the first time this week and I was pleasantly surprised. While a Shudder exclusive and clearly not the highest budgeted film, it makes the most of its skeleton cast. First off, I dug the vibe of this film and what it wanted to be. Following our characters Tori and Robbie on their Christmas Eve night out, they're stalked by a robotic Santa Claus that has gone haywire. Think Silent Night, Deadly Night meets Chopping Mall. There were brief moments where I was trying to understand just why the robot was targeting Tori, but those moments were interrupted by absolute carnage. Now, it took a bit to get going, but once it did, it was an absolute freight train of death. And by the end, I was actually feeling sorry for the main girl. I was like, Jesus, I think she's had enough. Christmas Bloody Christmas is an A tier Christmas slasher with the A for effort. This film was ambitious and just went for it. While it wasn't perfect, I appreciated everything that it brought to the table. Next up, for those feeling nostalgic, we have 1980's Christmas Evil. Now, it had been years since I watched this one, and I must say, it did not hold up well. The pacing of this one is rough as we follow Harry, who was scarred as a boy one Christmas, go through his naughty and nice list. Now, Harry is supposed to be a sympathetic character as we see him bullied and take advantage of in his daily life, but he was just a character I couldn't get behind. This film as a whole takes too long to get going, and by the time it does, there's just little payoff. Now, if you saw this one in your younger days and you enjoy nostalgia, good on you, right? But outside of that, it just brings little enjoyment. Christmas Evil for me sits squarely in our D tier, even if it means I'll be receiving a lump of coal from Harry in the future. Let's finish off our list with 2016's Better Watch Out. Good God, where to begin on this one? Now, as a father of four, I consider myself to be a very patient person with children. That being said, I've never wanted to beat the shit out of a child more in my life. Oh, okay, let's back up a little here. So we start off with teenager Ashley, who is babysitting 12-year-old Luke while his parents go to a Christmas party. When an apparent home invasion occurs, shit goes completely off the rails. Just when I thought I knew where this one was going, it took a complete left turn. And then another. I was filled with suspense, and then intrigue, then probably anger and intense frustration. But by the end, I'll be honest, I had a big smirk on my face. This film is a wild ride, but also very unique. Christmas atmosphere? Check. Killer with a body count? Check. A wide diversification of kill styles? Check. But let's call a spade here. Better Watch Out is not a slasher. However, I think I enjoyed this film. My feelings did sway throughout, and I was probably going to be really pissed off had this ended another way. But in the end, slasher or not, Better Watch Out goes into A tier for me, and I would recommend giving this one a watch. Now, if you do, there's a good chance you're going to come back pissed off and leave some comments laced with expletives, but hey, 'tis the season for giving. So there we go, our Christmas slasher tier list. Now, for those of you that are home for the holidays, feel free to run the gauntlet yourself and let me know what you think. Now, while these are all Christmas horror, they range wildly different across the board. And for those of you on the naughty list, there's only a couple days left until Christmas, so either go do some good deeds or based on these films, arm the fuck up. From Slash City, Merry Christmas, good night.
Santa's watching, Santa's creeping. Now you're nodding, now you're sleeping. Word